Hi, this is Anna Imagination, and welcome to the Ethical Assholes Philosophical Coffee. I am your host, the Salty Bitch. I am in the process of building up the Education Reformation course, and it's coming together beautifully. One of the things that I realized, and this immediately got dropped into my handbook for optimized learning. I love that title, Handbook for Optimized Learning. And it's how to DIY. Really amazing how to DIY. And I love this concept so much that I'm like, wow. So it's DIY for societal solutions, literally how to DIY for society. This could be like my new podcast channel. That's a gorgeous, like how to DIY for societal solutions. And oh my God, yes, how to DIY for societal solutions. And it comes down to 5 key pillars. And all of DIY is focused on these 5 pillars. If you do not have these 5 pillars, then you need to train, pillar number 4, and do it. And that's what we do at the garden. Oh yeah, how to DIY for societal solutions. DIY for society. Yeah, it's the how to DIY. And it trains you how to become a DIYer. Now, if you're already a DIYer, then great. What we have here is literally the sequencing, the tips, and you know what to do. I love you guys. But if you are new to DIY, oh my God, yes, this is my frequency. I think I found this is my calling. I can feel it. If you are new to DIYing, then it can be very overwhelming and intimidating. And then there's a lot of people who wish they could DIY, but they don't know how. I was there when the DIY came out. It was like, I remember my mom watching the DIY channel. I don't know if it's still around because I don't watch. My TV viewing is very differently. Back in my day when we had something called cable, I don't think it's around anymore. We had this channel. I remember when we got cable for the first time in the 80s or late or early 90s, and it was like a whoa, we had all the channels. And DIY, there was a DIY channel, and my mom had it on all the time. It's all she watched was the DIY channel. And probably why I'm the way I am is because I'm like, yeah, I grew up on the DIY channel. Bushcraft is the ultimate DIY. So DIY, done for you. There's done for you, DFY, and now there's done for you, or do it yourself, done. And I remember when DIY came out, there was this massive slandering from abusers that poo-pooed self-teaching. If you said self-teaching, they were like, oh. And it was like this real pretentious disgust. And now the DIYers are the one who are actually, we are the ones keep holding the world together because we're independent. And I want to take a step back from this and look at society, look at our educational system, look at our children. Now, I'm a DIYer, and I was one of those mothers. I did my duty. I changed diapers. I fed them at midnight. I nourished them, and I fucking hated every minute of it. I was the mother going, oh my God, I cannot wait until they are independent. So I taught my children independence because I really, I do not like taking care of people. Like I take care of myself. I don't want anyone to take care of me. And I don't like taking care of people. I don't take care of people. I love to empower people to independence. Now, good, you go take care of yourself, but I don't take care of people. So it was something, I'm an 80s child, so that explains everything. 80s, we were our parents were so horrible in the 80s that we had it's 9 o'clock, do you know where your children are? Because parents were so neglectful that we had campaigns that reminded parents, you remember you're a parent, right? Like, I am that child. Lord of the Flies. So I learned how to be independent because if you didn't eat, you didn't survive. And then we went the extreme where the Gen X's were over enabling and not me. I didn't go that route. I was like, oh, I love my freedom and I don't like taking care of people. I'm going to make sure my people can take care of themselves. And so what my kids got a lot from me was, you're going to have to just figure it out. And if you want help, I can give you the steps and the logic on how to solve your problem, but I'm not solving your problem for you. And I was very hands off. Sometimes I was a little too hands off. And that's when I'm like, all right, I got to like get back in here. And it was a learning curve because I had to figure out the right ratio because my parents were like hands off, so oblivious. And my parents were really got far. They had my parents were non-existent. They weren't bad. They weren't the abusers. They were so neglectful that they were the abusers. They were just so ignorant that they didn't even protect me. That's it right there. Ignorance is the only cause to all abuse. Education is the leading cause, only cause of ignorance. Therefore, all abuse is due to a lack of education, which is probably why I have such a massive hate on for educators, is because had they done their fucking job, then I would not have had 40 fucking years of abuse. Because then my parents would have been educated enough to go, oh, this is how we should have kept our children safe. My parents loved me. They were just incompetent because the educational system did not do its duty. Therefore, I suffered. Oh, I suffered. So I'm looking at it going, yeah, education can go. Education belongs in a toilet where its standards are. So DIY is the people who step forward going, yeah, I don't need an education. I'm just going to do it myself, which is great. But if you don't have the 5 pillars, it's not going to go well for you and you're going to have a problem. The current educational system does not have these 5 standards, and that's the problem. So we're going to cover them now for you. Now, this is going in my book and in my course because it's one of those things where it's so powerful, it's so important that everyone needs to know. So this is the DIY mindset. This is what these are the 5 common denominators, and I'm going to write it out here. These are the common denominators. By the way, I'm doing it right now. As soon as I wrote down common denominators, that's it. That's it right there. This is the problem solving. This is for the common denominators of DIY and independence. The first one, you're not going to like this, people, is trust. It's trust. The reason why it's trust is because parents, you have to trust that your child can do it. And you have to trust that you can do it, which is why trust is the first one. If you don't trust you can do it, that is the very first, you're not going to make it. Every DIYer trusts that they can, and every DIY parent knows that their child can. And that trust is the make or break of somebody who's not DIY. Now, if you are new to DIY and you're going, oh, yeah, well, that's why you are not a DIYer, not yet. Trust has 3 components. It is a cardinal value, and it requires 3 ethics to get trust. You need self-nourishment, you need self-authority, and you need self-regulation. Those 3 components get you trust. Triadic healing literally teaches and trains you these 3 things. That's all we do with triadic healing, is train you on these 3 things. When you have those 3 things, then it literally is, it's everything, because you're going to get self-authority with this. You're going to get self-nourishment, which is going to generate your own resources. And that will remove your scarcity problem. In addition to that, you become a resource generator instead of a consumer. You also become a DIYer. Self-authority gives you independence. It gives you confidence. So trust is literally the foundation of all of this. If you do not trust yourself, then you cannot do this. You have to work on trust first. And you don't have to have trust mastered to get this right. You just have to put courage into trust. And then you go through it. And this is where you have to understand quality and training and the stages and sequence of training in order to pull this off. The next thing is priority. If you do not have your priorities figured out, you are not going to get this right. Because somebody who is a DIYer knows how to organize their priorities. This is what we do. We can look at something and go, yeah, that's not meeting my standards, or that's not a priority to me. And they know how to nourish their resources and redirect them somewhere else. So resource management is really what priority is about. It's about resource management. because you only have a limited amount of resources. There are 3 resources that are the most important resources you have in your arsenal. And these 3 resources make up the value of your greatest asset. Your asset is your mind. DIYers know this. And we have 3 resources: time, energy, headspace. That's all we got. Time, energy, headspace. These are not to be squandered. A poor person wastes these like they've got a limited supply, which is why they're burned out, which is why they have their heads full of a bunch of garbage, which is why they spend their time gossiping and complaining and posting on forums. A person who is wealthy would never squander these 3 things. They are very selective about what goes into their mind. They absolutely reserve their time to make sure it goes where they need it to go. And they do things that energizes them, and they don't waste their energy in something that nourishes their headspace. So it frees up their headspace so that they get the most out of their mind, which is the asset. And that's the difference between somebody who's prosperous and somebody who's not. Somebody who's wealthy is a DIYer. You cannot be wealthy and not a DIYer. You just can't. It's not possible. You cannot consume somebody else's resources and be wealthy. You can't do it. So when you decide to be a DIYer, what you're really doing is stepping into the world of wealth, abundance, prosperity, and independence. And then you can start generating your own resources. So the next thing we're looking at is quality control. Quality control is you setting the standard. Now, this is a big deal. When I started my DIY and my self-training, my self-education, the very first thing I was concerned about was the quality of my education. I was terrified I was going to have gaps in my education. I was like, oh my God, because I was already getting gaps in my education because the educational system was hot shit, but I was really concerned about the gaps. Now I know the science of a gap. Now I understand where it comes from and how to prevent it. In short, if you have a gap in your education, it's because you have lost the sequence of that discipline. So you have to know the discipline sequence. And then when you know the discipline sequence, you can just follow the sequence. Every sequence for every discipline is located on Wikipedia in their portal. It's really easy. It's already available to us. Thank you, Wiki. Wikipedia provides the correct ordering and the sequence of every academic discipline. So you can just go on Wikipedia, type in physics, and there you go. It's the entire sequence. So you can go, oh, this is it. It's a walkthrough. Wikipedia is a walkthrough of all academic disciplines. Like, really, we don't need education. We can throw it all out now because we've got Wikipedia. And every source there is triple checked. So what we have is now this gorgeous walkthrough of, oh, there's your sequence. So if you want to study X, you just need to know which academic disciplines. And that's what we teach you at the Healing Garden, is how to literally customize and build your educational system, your own educational system. It's literally a custom, your own educational system, so that you can get exactly what you need out of your entire experience. And before you get concerned about, oh my God, there's so much information, not if you know how to teach. And this is really, this is another huge thing that we look at, is if you're starting at Plato's point, you get synergy. This is new to anybody, everybody, everywhere, because no one comes from the ancient Greek educational system. So no one knows about this yet. When you study an academic discipline properly and you start to incorporate them, what you end up with is synergy of knowledge. Synergy is what you get when you study music and singing, and they overlap. It's what you get when an artist draws and learns how to paint, and they come together. It's what you get when the mathematician decides to take physics, and suddenly they're like, whoa. And when the mathematician and the physicist go, let's add music theory, boom. Oh, you get a lot there. Now, I have logic that I put in all this, and logic is the common denominator. Are we all listening? Logic is the common denominator of all the disciplines. So when you put logic into all of them, by the way, this is it. This is it right here. It's the sequence. Then you know exactly what order of operations to learn all the different disciplines, so that you know, oh, this is the sequence that I have to follow for every discipline, which is why everyone needs logic, so they know how to learn, which is what logic is. It's learning. So the next thing you need is quality, which absolutely defines where your standard is. And as somebody who is self-learning, you are going to need to set your own standard, because no one's going to be doing that for you anymore. They're not doing it now, which is why the standard is so low, but okay. So the difference between DIY, especially for societal solution, is stepping in to say, okay, we're going to raise that standard and we're going to raise the bar. One teacher I remember, she was thrilled because somebody set the standard high for their children and their child was finally able to reach a standard. And she was like, oh, I thank you so much for not dropping that bar. Why didn't you set the bar? A parent can set the standard for their child. Some parents do, and then it comes off as this isn't good enough for me. You need to teach your child how to set their own standard and not live up to your standards. This is vital. This is the kind of stuff we teach our children here. Is we teach you how to set your own standard, not force somebody else to conform to your standard. And so we have all we do in the first week of all of our programs is we're going to talk about standards and why you need them. And it is the difference between a master and all the other shit teachers is the master will sit down and have this conversation with you. They will talk to you about this is your standard. You need to have a standard. You need to define it and you need to set it. And that is what Socrates' archetype and role models is all about. So we take a lot from the philosophers. We take everything from the philosophers, and then we translate it into applicable use so that you understand what they were actually trying to say and how to implement it. Implementation is like the be all end all of what we do here. So the next thing we look at is problem solving. Problem solving is learning. It's the same thing. Problem solving is your ability to understand the sequence of everything so that when you come to a situation, you can go, oh, it's time to learn. Let's sit down and problem solve this. So you build your own equation. That's what problem solving is. It is the ability to identify that there is an obstacle in your way because you know your sequence, which is logic, and you know, oh, I'm trying to get to X, but I can't because this thing is in my way. You'd be amazed how many people don't know this. So that when they see that something is in their way, they don't know what to do. Most people have hysterics. Many people just pull out their phone and post it on YouTube. A lot of people go on the forums and talk about how miserable their lives are, and almost none of them actually learn. A DIYer knows, oh, I just got to learn problem solve that, build the equation, and then I'll solve for X, and then there you go, there's a solution. Let's just do it. And we do it in a few minutes. DIY. It's what we do here. So learning and problem solving become your best friend when you become a DIYer. The next thing we look at is the resource production. You cannot, this is really important, is as a DIYer, the very first thing we learn is how to become our own resource generator so that we don't run out of resources. We don't get burned out because we know how to literally produce energy, which is what a resource is. It's literally a creation of one's energy. We know how to take physics and use physics to produce our emotions and turn our emotions into creation. So because we know how to do this and we know how to implement it, we're able to pretty much make whatever we want because we implement physics in our own lives. So we're going to be doing this a lot. It's these 5 factors over and over again. And you're starting off at apprentice level. Think of it very much as a game. You are in a game and you've got your first level to complete, and then you've got your second level, and then your third level. Well, right now you are at your first level. It's going to have its own challenges. And this is what you should have learned when you were 5 years old. This is what you should have learned and been doing when you were 5 to 10 to up to 20. By the time you were 25, you should have been a tradesman. So that, okay, cats decided that they're going to fight now. And then at 35, you would have been a master, had the educational system done its job. So now looking at you, 2 things come in. The first thing is we need to get you where you need to get, which is that parenting and adulting class. So if you're looking to adult, this would be for you. If you're looking to parent, this would be for you. The other thing is if you do have children, they need to also make sure they get this properly and right. So there's like a reset. And this is that societal solution part of we need to get our children on the same page and we need to get ourselves on the same page. And then by the time your children are ready to have their children, they will already be set on their page, and then they'll be able to transfer this data over to their children. But again, it's that DIY part that's really vital to how this whole thing works. So when we're doing the education reformation, when you are going through that education reformation, it's really important that you understand that this right here, these 5 factors are the foundation of all of this. It is these 5 factors that makes DIY possible. It is what every DIYer has in common, and it's the thing that all of us does that says, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. Like this is what I'm doing. And if you're new to DIY, this is going to be the thing that you're going to have to train on. And that's what we do is we train you how to pull this off. And it's just knowledge. It's just knowing the right sequencing of the knowledge and getting you the knowledge in the right sequence. So knowledge in the knowledge sequence, we really should just call it knowledge sequence, is as everything. It's everything. Knowledge sequence is literally the be all end all of education. And if you don't know the knowledge sequence, your learning is going to, it's going to take you literally 30 years to learn a couple subjects, as opposed to, yeah, it's going to take you no time at all. It's extraordinary once you understand the knowledge sequence. It's the difference between doing things disorganized and just doing them in order. It's and we saw this in school with PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. When you had the order of operations that you had to follow in math, if you didn't follow the operations, you got the wrong answers. The entire world right now is following the wrong equation. The entire world right now is getting the wrong answers, which is why the entire world right now has been dumbed down by 20 IQ points, because they don't have the knowledge sequence. This knowledge sequence came from Pythagoras and Plato, who like churned out geniuses like it was nothing, because they had the knowledge sequence. So that is what we've revived. That's where we're giving back to you. This is literally a how to DIY for societal solutions. Totally going to be changing this. Oh yeah, this is definitely going to be like my YouTube channel's name. Oh yes, DIY for societal solutions. So this is for the educational reformation. Thank you so much, and may the kindest of words always find you.